My kind of wild idea in here, the horse I thought would kind of sneak away a little bit and currently sitting at 6-1, which I think probably for this horse taking a little bit of money is good, is the 10.
Yeah.
Just I think it's one of those that in the write-up I mentioned that O'Neill points horses to this particular race like year after year. And this horse just kind of fits that same pattern because they claimed it back on May 21st. There wasn't much intention running at Golden Gate Fields. An allowance company on the turf kind of buried the horse a little bit in terms of form. So I don't really count that race at all. Number-wise, it's not like a horse that stands out, but has races that could certainly build off of, given, his age, who he was training,
right.
Those types of things, and has at least some tactical speed. I know he doesn't look good on the plot, but a lot of that just has to do with some of those trips, maybe even some of the barn, etc. Mike Smith is aboard. Mike Smith was aboard this horse when he broke his maiden. There's just some signs that there's intent outside of the fact that this horse, you can say, is clearly not the most standout-ish horse in the race, but could be the most kind of intended.
Okay. Okay, so here's a race I'm going to show. This and I'm just going to the grid here for a second, Emily.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see the Optix fig range of this race is 780 to 78. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And, with the exception of like the 5 who's run above that, I guess the 7 too. But this is this is more kind of recent form, right? Because these are a lot of horses off layoffs. It's a very confusing race. When we're kind of on the same scale as Brisk, and we've added a bunch of Brisk stuff to the end of our grid here, and you can see like the par for most of these races are kind of like high 80s, 90s. I'm saying low 90s. And when I compare that to the Optix fig range, it tells me like this is not the strongest bunch, right? I mean, if their range is this, and their par, which these typical horses of this, level will run like 90 or at least upper 80s, that we got a kind of a feel that's suspect. So you might want to take your shots, and that's why I thought taking a shot on a first-time starter may not be the craziest thing. I don't know much about this horse, and like some people like look at all the works and stuff. I've kind of just looked at some of the works. They look, this horse looks fine. I don't go into lots of things. I just kind of use him as just because of the fact that when you look at this field, there's no one who's really kind of stepped up. I thought he might be just someone you want to use if you use.
Well, there's 2 first-time starters, so which one?
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't like the number. I'm talking about the 6.
Okay. The 6. I do have some notes on this horse.
Yeah.
That one, they were entered. Well, we can see in the grid that he was entered to run at Del Mar, so at least that shows intent for this.
Yeah, last year. Yeah.
Yeah. And he, watching his works, he can sometimes be a little bit slog.
Okay.
But he has some run, and he can close and pass horses.
That's good.
So yeah, and I think that the 6.5 is good for this type of horse, because we can kind of project he's going to be a little bit. He could be slog.
Okay.
But I like that horse in here as well, and I kind of took a similar approach as far as not quite trusting the 5 or even the number on the 3 at Oaklawn Park. Here.
Okay, cool. So I think
the 8 was another one that's a little bit more of a reach. We do have the 1 turn. Powell is another one of those Powell had a terrible Del Mar summer last year. I think he didn't have a win, so that's like a barn to follow to see if that trend changes. But this one did run in a key race and has shown some run-in spots. But there's some others that I think are a little bit more logical. But this race this kind of want to spread a little bit. Figured
you got to look at in this race.
Kurt Hoover has this horse on top, has the 10 on top.
There you go. And then
maybe it's not as stupid, or maybe it's just enough stupid. I don't know.
And this was the other horse I thought plotted okay, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 11 kind of looks like the 10 a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just in too tough. Has some good races at the N3. Has races
Not,
here at
not
Del
impossible.
Mar.
Not impossible. So I
No,
mean,
not at all.
I think it's kind of like up to folks here if you want to bet this 2 or not. I'm not betting this 2 at 3-2.
Yeah.
I just think there's some better horses. We talked about the 9, 10, and 11, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Race coming up. I thought this Chad Brown, one of the Chad Brown horses looked pretty good, was the 2. I kind of like that debut, even though the number looks kind of short. I thought that horse did some things, Emily, like it was like 22 and change. This horse was battling for the lead, got the lead. The other 2 speeds finished nowhere. And then it looked like he was going to like get caught, and then he spurred away a little bit, maintained his lead. And then he galloped out huge. And, when I just kind of look at, I just think with upside, no one's a monster in this race. I just thought this horse looked pretty good. There's just some question marks with some of these others. They might have a little bit more seasoning, a little bit more class, but I just think this horse looks like a horse that could be something. Surge capacity in the 9th. When we get to that race, but I thought that was a better than looked effort. That Monmouth. Monmouth's races aren't as strong. This made especially as Saratoga and Belmont, but I still think that was a quality win. And some of these other races didn't come up that strong. I thought some of the stakes races, some of these horses come out of.
Can't believe they're still not official at Del Mar.
And what I like about the in the 9th race at Saratoga, folks, is this is an angle and Optix plot that you see once in a while. It's kind of like there's an empty quadrant 1, and you got this horse all the way in quadrant 3, a square all the way to the left. And my idea would be, if I own this horse, go tell Joe Rosario, just go to the lead, and maybe that's the plan, but we'll see.